Hello, welcome to Rebreak Radio. I think we're live right now. I think it works. Let's see.
Yes, it should work.
It works. Okay, cool. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rebreak Radio. This is episode 39. Today we are joined by Carl,
Hello.
Leo,
Nice to meet you all.
yes, and me, of course. So this time we're going to talk about the state of the industry. It sounds very dire. It sounds very important. But I swear it's not. We're just some guys talking shit. So, what are some things we're going to talk about in terms of this topic? Well, first of all, we're gonna talk about Marvel's Avengers, and what else are we gonna talk about, Leo?
We're going to talk about the new game that released on Monday called Genshin Impact, and it's the generic loot box systems that are in those kind of games.
Yes, and what else, Carl?
Well, we are going to talk about a thing that kind of plagues the modern gaming industry called crunch.
Yes.
Because we all, as video game developers, have our opinion on that. And
Yes.
we thought it would be interesting to talk about.
Yes, Crunch Bandicoot is very, very, very tough on the entire industry. He was introduced in Crash 4. I mean, the original Crash 4, not the new one, but you know.
But even blind people know that Cinnamon Toast Crunch tastes wonderful, though.
Okay, so it's not Crunch Bandicoot, by the way. We're not talking about Crunch Bandicoot. But next week we're going to be talking about Crash Bandicoot 4 specifically. Okay, anyway. On back to topic. So, let's start with Avengers. So, Marvel's Avengers, the Square Enix released game developed by Crystal Dynamics and 3 other studios, was released a few weeks ago at this point, I think it was. And
It was in the beginning of this month,
yeah,
like the 9th of September, if I can remember correctly.
yeah, exactly. So this game has been not very well received, but at the same time, there are a lot of people who love the game. And the way I see this game is that it's kind of the end point of what has been happening with a lot of different games recently, where they come out in kind of an unfinished state and then they get fixed on day one or in the days and weeks following its release. And it was very evident with Avengers, because the day one patch that they had fixed like over 1,000 issues with the game. So yeah, I wanted to open up about a discussion where about this game, what how it was released so unfinished, but at the same time how the game uses its very like bare bones RPG mechanics in order to carry the entire experience, because the gameplay is just whatever. It's just meh. Like there's no interesting aspects about the core gameplay in the game. So yeah, what's your guys' take on this?
Yeah, you can start, Carl.
No, I was like, it's a problem with. I think it's a relevant problem that a lot of gaming companies have, where regardless of what the developers want, they don't really have a choice in it. It's the people that pushes the money to the company that says, we're gonna get this game out. It's not even close to done, but you're getting it out.
Yeah.
And the problem is that it obviously pays off because stuff keeps happening, because there are a lot of people out there that say, oh, it's a Marvel Avengers game, I'm gonna pre-order it, which is another problem in and of itself with pre-ordering games when you have no idea how they work, is an example of it. Because they have probably earned a fuck ton of money, excuse my French, but people have purchased this game, they have played it, and like as someone who didn't care about it to begin with and didn't purchase it, I used to look at it and say, how can anyone look at this game and say, I'm gonna purchase this game? Because it doesn't look fun, even though, yes, fun is subjective, but it looks so frustrating to play with the state it was released in.
Yeah, so I'm like looking up the reviews in Steam, and it got like a mixed reviews. Most of the positive or well, the mediocre reviews that people put up is more or less they're just saying like if you're an Avengers fan, this will be this is a good game for you. That's all to it, and I think that pretty much sums it. That pretty much sums this game up. It's more or less just a Marvel fan game for people that want to play as Marvel characters, and they probably don't care that much about how the game is playing. It's just they want to be their favorite Marvel character and go and beat stuff and all that kind of stuff. So, but I do agree that this game looks very mediocre at best, and I haven't played it, but what I've seen of it, it's like it's not. It doesn't even look that fun to play, and like you both have said pretty much things that I can pretty much agree on, more or less.
Yeah, and I mean it's also worth noting that I haven't played it either. So I mean, none of us have played it. So sure, like if you're gonna whine about it, like all of our words can be taken with a grain of salt, obviously. But I mean, we have all played enough games at this point that we can like look at a game and immediately see if it's gonna be for us or not. And just everything I see in this, there's nothing in this game that draws me to it. Like I want to play it simply because that will give my critique more value to it, because then I have had firsthand experience with it. But no part of me wants to spend $60 on this game. And if I do, like if I would, I would buy it, and this would be the only game that I buy on a disc and then resell it when I'm done with it, because I do not want to spend money on this game.
Yeah, I think that's also like it's like and when it released, it wasn't in such a good shape, and of course they have now. I see that people have written like, "Oh, it's patched. It's much better now," but that doesn't like change the fact that they have so much. Like the price doesn't feel worth it. There's these season pass, or what was it? Not season pass, but they have like
Challenge passes, I think they're called.
yeah, challenge passes, and on that only they're probably gonna release some more, and that's gonna be a cash grabber also. It's just a money cow for pretty much Marvel in one way, and also maybe for Square Enix and the ones who the developers who has made this also. But I think I do think that those who has made this game actually wanted to make it good, but because of time restraints and maybe the design document says something other that what they agree on, but they're like they just deal with it. They just do whatever they're being told to do, more or less.
What like I've said before, I haven't played the game, so I can only go off what I've seen. But to me, it feels like even on a design level, there's something wrong with it. It feels like how I wrote to you, Dennis, earlier today. And it feels like I compared it to the movie Mortal Engines, which is a movie I fucking hate. It's awful. But the problem with that movie is that it's a movie that doesn't know what it wants to be. It's 5 different movies in the same movie, and all of them are trash. Like all of the parts in that movie are trash.
Yeah, that
But they're doing like, they try to do the Matrix, but but it's the bad Matrix. They're trying to do Lord of the Rings, but it's bad Lord of the Rings. They try to do Terminator, but it's bad Terminator. And it's like, that's how I feel about this game. It's trying to be a looter shooter, except there's only loot. They're trying to be like a beat 'em up with friends, or I don't know the technical term or the genre term for it, but a like co-op game. Except you can't really play co-op properly in that game. It's trying to be a Marvel superhero game, except it's not. It's just a beat 'em up with a Marvel superhero skin on it.
Mm.
And on top of that, they have these really awful microtransactions that's in these later years have been something that's been brought to light as objectively bad. And they're doing a really bad version of it.
Mm.
So, like, I think there's a big problem fundamentally with this game.
Yeah, and then like on top of all of those types of games that you mentioned, the single player tries to be like an Uncharted style cinematic experience. So like you grab all of these like different parts of a game, and then you also mention this completely different game, and then you're like, how can this possibly fit into one package? And the answer is it just doesn't.
This is what happens when people don't really. They have no aim.
No
Every
purpose.
department.
Yeah.
Every department
Without
aims towards different. You're saying stuff that I don't understand. Anyway, every department aims in different directions and just goes, and they don't have any like conversation to try to focus the game. So that's when we get tone deaf. Oh, we're gonna make a superhero game that has loot, except the loot isn't even like a good loot. It's just stuff that you use to build stuff to get more stuff that you use to build stuff. It's not even like a fun grind.
Yeah, like I'm not a fan of this genre entirely, but from what I've heard people like about games like Destiny is that the things that you get are like cosmetic items that you place on your character, or they improve the power of your character in whatever way, so that encourages you to go through this tedious grind in order to get that really cool armor piece that you really want, or to become stronger. But in this game, it's just not really. It just doesn't really motivate you this way.
It's almost as if it's a party game.
Like when I'm looking at this game, all I'm thinking is, first of all, it looks soulless because it's we're gonna be super realistic with our graphics, and it's just uncanny valley level.
Mm.
But when I look at it, all I'm thinking is, this would be really cool if it was just like a Gauntlet type game. Not a Gauntlet, but the game Gauntlet. That type of game.
So
where you run around.
So you mean Marvel Ultimate Alliance?
Yeah, but actual proper oomph to, like a proper licensed AAA Gauntlet Marvel game would be super cool, because I want to run around with my friends. Like, I want to run around as the Hulk when you then is fly around as Iron Man, and then Leo comes in as Thor, and we just destroy stuff together. That would be super fun. And that kind of happens in a side mode in that game, as far as I understand it. And the problem is also that it's super laggy because optimization is in the bin. So it's like, it has the potential. It just didn't even come near it.
Yeah, and that's like when I've talked about this game, it feels like all of the issues that they had were solved by either one, it's an Avengers game, people are just gonna buy it anyway, or two, it's a multiplayer game. Multiplayer is inherently fun, so we don't have to do anything with it. And
so it's one of those cash grab games. Cash grab games. I can't speak today.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I talked to Leah earlier today about this, that there was a time back way before like the Batman Arkham games where licensed games were just on a basic level considered to be bad. If there was a good one, it was an anomaly. But then Batman Arkham happened, and that game changed the overall consensus on licensed games for a long time. Of course, there were still bad ones after that, but they kind of started dying down, and only the good licensed games started coming out. And now we got Marvel's Spider-Man, which really set the tone for Marvel's for Marvel's licensed games. But that was made by Insomniac. Of course, it was gonna be good. And now we have this an Avengers game where, like, because of this new consensus that licensed games are good now, people just kind of accept this one as one of the group, you know?
I think it's like the example of why Batman and Spider-Man, the Batman Arkham games and the Spider-Man on the PS4 and now PS5 are good is because it's kind of like game movies. Why is our most game movies trash? And why is Detective Pikachu or the Sonic movie actually good? I can't believe I just said that the Sonic movie is good, but whatever,
Yeah,
it is good.
it is the best part of the Sonic, just everything.
Yes. But the problem is that when you do a licensed, like a movie licensed game, the problem that a lot of people, especially back in the day, fell into was we're gonna make this movie as a game. And that doesn't work. That's why the Arkham game works, because they just took the Batman movie concept and said, we're gonna make a game around this. We're not gonna make Batman the Arkham Knight as a game. We're gonna make Batman, and then we're gonna make a game with Batman in it, basically. And that's the same with Detective Pikachu. They didn't take the game Detective Pikachu and made a movie out of it. They took the concept of Detective Pikachu and then made a movie. And as far as I haven't played the game, but as far as I've read,
there are some changes.
They have, there are changes, but there are also like plot elements and story beats are in the game, are also in the movie. But in general, it is like more of a movie that has Pokemon in it rather than a Pokemon movie, basically. And that's the same thing with Spider-Man. It's not a Spider-Man movie game. It's a game with Spider-Man in it.
Yeah.
And this Marvel's Avengers game feels like a Marvel movie that tries to be a game and just doesn't work.
Yeah, and also it's the Marvel movie that tries to be a game, but all the actors' contracts ran out, so they had to get some other people. Seriously, one of the most uncanny things that I'm never gonna be able to let go of is the fact that Iron Man is played by Nolan North, who plays Nathan Drake, and I just can't unhear Nathan Drake whenever I hear him talk.
But that seems more like a you problem.
But they're also such similar characters. They're both like wisecracking assholes. So
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I also like, from what I understand, it's a lot of focus on Iron Man, because that's the character that the people who watch. That's also a thing. If they focus on Iron Man, as I've understood that they do a lot in the game, they do it straight up because the majority of people who have watched the movies like Iron Man. So of course they're gonna focus on Iron Man because that's what people want to see or want to see.
Yeah.
So
I watched one review from, I think it was Brown Table. He said that the Avengers game is worse than the licensed Iron Man and Captain America games from the movie licensed games, like back when those came out in like 2008 and 2010. And I played the 2008 Iron Man game on PS3, and it was pretty alright. Like, it was pretty good. And yeah, and if he thinks that was a better Iron Man experience than this one, because having all of these drastically different characters in the same game poses a lot of design issues, and some of these design issues they didn't even address, like the fact that Iron Man and Thor can literally just fly to the end of the stages sometimes, because it doesn't seem like they even cared about the fact that they can fly, and they can just fly over any walls that you place between the player and the goal of the level. So if you just don't want to care about anything, you can just grab Iron Man and fly over everything. Like, it's ridiculous.
I'm just thinking about this. What was it? The Justice League and the cartoon where Batman is like, "Justice League, move out!" He runs, and everyone else just flies away.
Yeah.
That's basically how the game is.
So what you're saying is the Marvel's Avengers is a Kirby game? Because you just fly over the level.
But the difference is Kirby's designed around that.
Yeah, Kirby is a hyper casual game.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter if you fly over the level. That's like, do what you want. This is like, the Marvel's Avengers is made around like fighting robots apparently, and only robots and walls. That's the important part. Don't forget the walls.
Yes. Pink Banlin in the chat says that RDJ's portrayal of Tony is too iconic for them to ever use someone else. And yeah, that's so true. Like, Robert Downey Jr. nailed Tony Stark so well that I can't see anyone play Tony Stark ever again.
I think it's less of a problem that he nailed it and more of a problem that he made a really interesting version of Tony Stark, because so far it's kind of like with Wolverine and Hugh Jackman. Because to anyone who is like a hyper comic book nerd have said that no, Hugh Jackman is a terrible choice for the Wolverine, except everyone who's seen the movie and haven't read the comics have said Hugh Jackman is the perfect Wolverine. And in this case, Tony Stark in the comic books, as far as I know, he isn't even on the same level of like wisecracking asshole or like devil may care kind of character that Tony Stark is in the movie. So that's why Robert Downey Jr. isn't necessarily the perfect cast for the comic book, but it's just the perfect movie Tony Stark. So it's kind of like, that's why I like, for example, with the Spider-Man game, that Peter Parker, that was kind of different from the movie Spider-Man's. It was his own Peter Parker. So I think I don't know how Tony Stark is in the Marvel game. If he's trying to be Tony Stark, the movie Tony Stark, or Robert Downey Jr. Tony Stark, I don't think that's good. I think they should try to make him his own kind of like game Tony Stark. But that's just a personal opinion.
Yeah, from the cutscenes that I've seen, it's like the all seem just kind of rigid, but then also like it's Nolan North playing Iron Man. Like, yeah, I won't be able to unhear Nathan Drake, but like he's still doing a good performance. Like, they're all good actors. Like, they're all these like A-list video game actors, like Nolan North, Troy Baker, Laura Bailey, like these people that have been in pretty much every game at this point. So they are like the A-listers in the game industry, but like I think the problem is that they are the A-listers of the game industry. Robert Downey Jr., I think, is seen so much as Tony Stark because Tony Stark is the role that made him. He was obviously an actor before then, but Tony Stark is the role that got him the superstardom that he has today. And similarly with Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson, like all of these actors were actors before, but it's this role that really hit the mainstream with them. So that's why people see them as these characters. While all of these actors that are in Avengers, Nolan North it was famous from Uncharted. Laura Bailey has done a lot of different stuff. Troy Baker from like Last of Us and other things. So
it's like in Harry Potter, where the actors who were in those movies, they are so iconic to that franchise. So when I see, I don't remember his real name, but he who plays like Harry Potter, like when yeah, when I see him in like another movie, I'm like, this feels weird.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
I
so
mean,
iconically Harry Potter.
I'm just thinking of that image of Daniel Radcliffe in a beat down
Oh yeah, from that.
bathrobe,
Yeah, in that
and he has
Guns
two
Akimbo movie.
guns. And I'm just thinking of that movie as Harry
Yeah.
Potter gone wrong.
Yeah.
And then like,
That picture is so wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that movie's come out yet, but it looked pretty interesting. Like it's about his character getting two guns glued to his hands. Like it's just a fun concept.
Doesn't he also like roll around on a kick bike or something like that?
Yeah, I don't
So
remember.
it's-
Like
it's-
it's
it's a really weird
fucking it's a
movie.
real weird movie. Pink Battle in chat. Troy Baker from every game ever. Yep. I mean that's pretty much true. Yeah, he's in basically everything. So but yeah, I feel like they could have grabbed some more unknown talent. And it might, but still at the same time, like their models just look weird. Like they don't look like people. They all have these like yeah, they all have these like super weird like assimilated faces. Like it doesn't feel like they have real faces.
It's yeah.
I don't know.
I'm keeping with my opinion that the game just feels and looks soulless.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
it looks like a cash grab because it is a cash grab. That's like I don't know.
Yeah, but at the same time, a cash grab isn't in development hell for 4 years.
I mean,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I haven't seen that much like from the graphics of the game, but like in the promotional like the promotional art and graphics, of course it's gonna look good because they want people to think that it's good and buy it. But I haven't seen that much of an in-game graphics more than what they showed in like E3 last year, more or less.
yeah, and
So,
it's so like we talked about it earlier, Carl, when I mentioned that this was going to be my topic, and you said like you'd only seen the E3 trailer or something like that, and
yeah.
I believe the E3 trailer is the scene with the bridge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically the only sequence of substance in the entire game. And that
So
now
it's the intermission basically where they do stuff and it's gonna be all really good, and then you get into the game and it's fucking nothing.
yeah,
That's
from
just
what
upsetting.
yeah, from what I heard, the good stuff out of the game is that sequence, and then later on there is this sequence with Tony Stark where he goes to space, which looks I've seen some footage from it. It looks pretty cool. And then there's this one boss fight with Abomination where he just shows up and then disappears from the story entirely. Like it's so weird. And then there are 3 boss fights with named characters, and every other boss fight is a robot.
I'm just I can't with this game. Like I'm just so confused.
Yeah,
Why
like
did they even release this game?
you
Like,
know how like all superhero things ever have way too many villains, have way too many references to all the different iterations of things in comics and all that stuff. This time they didn't do any of that. They just didn't. Like they just put some nameless, faceless robots in the game instead.
that's just sad.
But yeah, I wanted to take this conversation into, do we think the fact that this game was released in such an unfinished state and the game is probably going to be fixed in like a year or two, and the game is going to be, and then all the news outlets is going to be like, go give Avengers a try again because now it's fixed, it's good now.
well,
Give it a
they
second
already
chance.
added. Well, there's already like fixes in the game. I saw at least in the Steam community that people are writing like, oh, they made a patch, made it playable now, at least on PC.
But I feel and that's mostly like all the different just bugs and stuff. Like this is going to
Yeah,
need some big gameplay changes. Like No Man's Sky is basically nothing like the game that was released way back when. Like it has a full third person view mode at this point, and you can do like all of these different things. And recently they released an update where now they changed the generation of the entire galaxy. Like they've done so many things to that game, but and I remember seeing like a year or two ago where it's like, give No Man's Sky another chance. It's a good game now, you know? And I feel like with this Avengers game, which is a way more high profile game than No Man's Sky, they're going to have the same strategy where they release this unfinished broken game and fix it and fundamentally change it over time until the point where it's good enough that people start enjoying it. And then how do you think that will impact the game industry in a negative way where games are intentionally released broken and unfinished to get money flowing as soon as possible and then change it afterwards because gamers are not going to care about it. They're just going to accept it when it is playable.
I wouldn't say that it's gonna happen because every time something like this happens, there are a very loud amount of people, a very large and loud amount of people that trashes the game, and there is the long tail that they completely miss out on. Because let's be honest, how many people have actually bought No Man's Sky after the updates, like compared to what they would have gotten if they just released a good game to start with?
Yeah.
So, like, for example, for me, I haven't bought No Man's Sky out of principle because I don't support what they did. Even if, oh, it's a good game now, I don't care.
Mm.
What they did wasn't, like, that's such an awful way to handle a game. And if that's the strategy they decide to do with Marvel's Avengers, well, I'm not going to play the game. I wouldn't play it anyway, but now I have also, out of principle, a reason to not play this game.
Mm.
But I don't think that's a normal thing because there's so much more outcry when this happens nowadays than it was before. It's especially rather because it's so much more globalized than it was before. So everybody knows everything now, basically, especially in the gamosphere. So I don't think it will happen. Also, a lot of the time when stuff like this do happen, it's a AAA game. And as we all have seen, AAA games aren't really the majority anymore. It's indie games, and indie games are much more passion projects. And a passion project, well, the people who want to release it want to release a good game. So they are gonna make sure that the game isn't completely awful, just try to get money. So no, I don't think this is gonna be a trend or like a proper strategy.
I hope you're right.
I think
yeah.
So do I.
I'm with Carl on this. I don't think it's that much of an issue. I mean, there has been plenty of games that has done this already, and those games are already forgotten, or people have moved on to other games already, because it's not a new game anymore. It's the same game with more updates, basically, or more stuff. People are moving on, and just the fact that the Avengers game has been released and I haven't heard pretty much almost nothing about it. It's like I haven't seen news about it. I haven't even like all the news sources that I actually follow. They haven't talked that much about that game. So I think this game was like almost dead or on arrival. Of course, people have bought it and played it, but it hasn't been that much of an outcry for it. I think, not in my perspective, but maybe there has been, but I haven't really noticed it.
I do agree. Sorry.
yeah. But yeah, I don't think it's such a big deal because these kind of things happens all the time in the game industry, and all every time it happens, it hasn't been viewed as a positive thing. And I think that, especially when it's a licensed game, there's more pressure in the game, and especially for especially for the devs, and yeah, it's just it's like a coin flip. You never know what's gonna like in what end the coin will like end, and if it's like very rarely that it actually lands on its edge and stays up. It's like that kind of deal when it comes to like especially licensed game, in my opinion. But then we have these games that are these AAA games like Spider-Man and Batman, but I think those are good because they had more freedom in what they could do to the games, more or less.
Did you have anything to add there, Carl?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I agree with Leo about how it doesn't, like, this game was just kind of released. It didn't feel like they had a big marketing push or whatever. They maybe had, I don't remember. Well, they have had actually, because I remember seeing ads like out on the street, which doesn't really happen a lot.
Yeah, I
But
think the problem why.
That's the thing. It didn't really feel like a big thing.
Yeah, I think that the reason why it didn't feel like it had a singular release like other games is because they had like they had this like beta access and stuff like that, where if you had pre-ordered the game, you got to play it like a week early, and there was this weird thing with review embargoes that they didn't let reviewers put a score on the game or like do a proper review of it until they played with the real players. And that's a huge red flag for saying like, this is not good, please don't review it yet. Let players buy it first.
That's some fucking mid 2000s bullshit where they don't release. They know their games have a ton of problems, so they refuse to let reviewers actually tell the people that it has a lot of problems.
So
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with what Pink Badlin in the chat says. I think the trend is release a broken game, apologize, promise to be better, and say you love gamers, TM, and then make and release a new broken game. Repeat, repeat, repeat.
Yeah, exactly. That is what I'm talking about. It happens like almost every year in the game industry. It's
Yeah.
nothing new, actually.
Yeah, and after releasing it, they're like, "We're sorry for doing this. We're going to improve on the game. We're going to keep updating it, and we love gamers." And all the gamers get really happy when they say that.
I mean, I think no game can beat the Anthem.
Yeah. But then Anthem has been like removed. Like EA fucking 3DS that thing. Like when
they like erased it from.
Yeah, they have erased it from history. That game never fucking happened. I think it was. I think it was a mix of like Jason Schreier's story about the development of Anthem, and then also just the bad reception to the game that EA was like, yeah, no, we're not gonna touch this with a 10-foot pole.
I think there's the thing why I am more optimistic than you other people, because these types of games aren't my type of game. I have a very specific taste, kinda. I don't really have a specific taste in games. I just have a specific taste in what companies I like buy games from. And those people I tend to know that the people who makes the games I like are the same people that won't release a broken piece of shit.
Yeah.
So like, for example, I don't really follow that many AAA developers, to be honest. I follow like from Nintendo games, and that's about it.
I mean, yeah, for me, it's the same way for me. Like I play like most Nintendo games and most PlayStation exclusives, and then if there's anything outside of that, it's on a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Because I feel like those are the only ones who really promote the creative direction of the game developers themselves. Um,
I mean, I think the latest like AAA global kind of game was that I played was probably uh the samurai game Ghost of
yeah,
Tsushima,
Ghost of Tsushima.
and it also has those like AAA kind of problems. Even I do like the game though, but I haven't played a lot of it because it has problems with it that comes like those problems are the reason I usually don't buy these types of games because they're so fundamental. Like, why is this a problem? Type of problem.
Yeah, yeah. We talked a lot about Ghost of Tsushima when that came out. I had a lot of ranting about that game.
Yeah, I haven't even
Even though
touched
it,
it.
it, it does some really interesting things, but that's not for this episode. Do we have anything else to say about Avengers and the problem of releasing unfinished games?
I'm just too exhausted to talk about it, even if I had some.
Yeah, we had this talk at lunchtime already. I'm kind of burned out, so
Okay, so how about we go with Genshin Impact?
Oh my
yeah,
god, it's
yeah.
Leo's turn to.
Yes, so Genshin Impact released this Monday. It's more or less a Breath of the Wild clone, but they add more. It has a more deeper combat system, and it has some. It's a lot more. It's Breath of the Wild, but an RPG more or less. It has dungeons and all that. And in this game, because of it being a free game, it has this in-game purchase system, a gacha system. And for those who don't know what a gacha is, it's more or less it originates from these slot machines that you put a coin in and then you turn a lever and you get a random item. And you know what items they exist in the slot machine, but you never know which one you get. And the Japanese term or the Japanese name of it is gachapon, if I remember correctly. Yeah, gachapon. So they took the word gacha from gachapon and put it, and it has more or less become a term in especially the mobile game industry. So this game Genshin Impact then has this gacha system where you don't only play with one character, you can actually walk around and explore the world with a bunch of characters. There's a big roster of characters you can play as, but in order to get them, you have to do the gacha, and the freaking drop rates are really low, like really low. You have to get like I think to get a 5-star, like the highest ranked character, it's like 0.6% drop chance to get like some of the best characters in the game. And there are some, like they have events where they like rank up, like pump up the rating for some characters, but that rating is like, oh, instead of 0.6 it's now 1.6% chance to get thing.
Yeah, that's
You
very
better
generous.
you better take the chance and roll on that while you can and get that character. But yeah, so
He muted himself.
Yeah, you
For
muted
the
yourself.
mic. It became very silent.
do you hear me
No.
now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I nudged the cable, so it. But yeah, where did I got muted?
Just start the sentence over.
Yeah, but anyway, so the thing about gacha is more like, instead of me ranting about Genshin Impact and about the game, because I want to separate the gameplay from the gacha, because I feel like if you look at the game as it is, it's actually a pretty decent game. It's pretty much a Breath of the Wild with like the graphics is freaking amazing, and the music is really good too in that game, and the gameplay moves. It's really good gameplay. There are some minor stuff like how do you control the camera and all of that that makes it less enjoyable, but it doesn't. It's not a deal breaker for me. But anyway, I want to talk more about gacha or loot boxes, like gacha or loot boxes in general in the gaming industry. How it's more or less how more or less it's both a problem and also a good thing in the industry, because I think even though it can be bad, it is well we most of us don't like that kind of marketing stuff. It's like you have to pay, like, sure, the game is for free, but now I have to like constantly throw out money in order to get those characters that I want, or there's a skin that I need to roll on. It's like, just give me the list of the characters and I can buy them separately if I want. That would be more something that I would like. But yeah, but I still like, there are so many gacha games in the game industry, and they make dirty money. Like, they make a lot of dirty money. They got like the gacha industry.
Fire Emblem Heroes is Nintendo's most popular mobile game.
Yeah, it's
Fire
they
Emblem.
Yeah, they get so much. It's so much money. You get so freaking much money from those gacha games. It's because and I think it has a lot of to do with it, with like this. It's more or less gambling, pretty much. It makes people want to buy more in order to try to get that one character that they want. And I watched a video about gacha, and it explained pretty well that if you play the game, and like it's a time commitment to play a gacha game, because there's a lot of like learning the game and learning how to navigate in the menus in most of them, and then there's a lot of grinding in those games, because if you don't want to use that much of money in those games, you have to grind in order to get these resources that you can use to make these gacha rolls in order to get more units. And yeah, it's more or less, and all of them are pretty much single player games. Like, some of them have some PvP or multiplayer aspects, but most of the time it's a single player game. And if you want that 2D JPEG waifu for $50, you better.
You mean all these? You mean all these waifus?
Yeah, exactly.
Fire Emblem Heroes is the only gacha game that I've spent any significant time in, and even then, I have not spent more than I would pay for a mobile game in it.
Yeah, exactly, and that's like that's.
But that includes a shit ton of grinding and waiting and all of that stuff. I haven't played in a long time. I had to download an update just to start it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, sure, I played this game for free. Maybe I'll put on some money if I want to, and just bite up my ass with a grind. But I think that there are some games like Genshin Impact that has such hilariously low drop rates that they more or less almost forces you to want to use money in order to get those roles, get those characters that you want. And that's where it becomes a problem. I know I tried one gacha game, I don't remember the game of it, but it was like they just gave out characters for you. It's like, as long, yeah, sure, play the game daily, you get characters sooner or later.
Fire Emblem Heroes was a very generous game too.
Yeah, So it's like when a gacha game is like that, I have no problem. Like it's like, oh yeah, they're really generous, and I think it's a good game. Then sure, I'll spend like maybe 10 euros or something just to get some like extra skins, or I want to have like that, or I want to try my luck on this bonus like event roll, like event gacha, that gacha event that they're having at the moment. But other than that, I'm more or less, I just play the game and see what I like. Whatever I get, whatever I get from the random system, and just deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. Like Lynn says in the chat, I feel like all the gacha games are generous in a sense, but it's to get you enticed and like buy to keep the rush of having good luck, or well, yeah, definitely.
But
Like that's part of the
but
strategy, totally.
yeah,
But one of the saddest things with gacha was this game, uh, Dr. Mario World. This game is a legitimately awesome game, but for some fucking reason, it's a gacha game. You have to like roll to get your new doctors and all this stuff. It's fucking weird. And it's sad. Because I would get to this point where I just really want to keep playing this game, but it would just make me run into these walls that I don't want to run into. And I would have been happy. I would have been happy to pay like Super Mario Run kind of money for this game because I really thought it was good. But instead, I just stopped playing the game because I was annoyed with how it handled me. And that is my general consensus when it comes to these kinds of games, when it comes to games that are free to play or have these loot box systems or whatever, is that I do not feel respected as a player when I play those games. I am there to get you money, and that's the entire goal. While in a game that has been paid for upfront, you don't have to care about that. The player has already paid for your content. Now it's up to you to show the best that you can do with the experience that you have given me, that I have paid for. And that's more. Those are experiences where those are designed from the perspective that you want the player to keep playing. You want to encourage the player to keep having fun, to keep enjoying the game. While when it comes to these kinds of free to play games, it's designed to get you addicted and then get you encouraged to stop playing the game in order to keep playing the game, which is this really annoying, really backwards kind of mind game that you have to play with this kind of payment structure.
Yeah, I think it's in some situations, like for some people, I mean, there are probably hardcore mobile gamers that are like, they have like 10 different games they're playing, so they like enjoy, like they want to have like a short time with the games and all that. Well, maybe there are some people that are just, they play the games while they're, you know, on the bus on the way to the work or school, or they are playing them while they're on the toilet or something like that. And I think that's where it's kind of good that they have some of these limitations, but at the same time, I think it's like, it's not necessary to have those limitations. Like as long as the game loop is short enough for you to like be like, oh, I'm just gonna play this a little bit, or like for a few minutes before my bus arrives or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was so sad when Super Mario Run came out. That was a game that cost $10. That is literally nothing. And everyone in the mobile gaming community fucking hated it. because it costs $10. How Nintendo, how dare they release this quality mobile game for $10? They are thieves. They are so bad for trying to ask for our $10.
Yeah, and that's
I
where I
was
think
so sad when that happened because Super Mario Run, first of all, was a really good game. It is what I would argue it is one of the best mobile games ever made. Because it's not a very high bar to meet, unfortunately.
Have you heard of our Lord and Savior Threes? That's the best
Yeah,
mobile game.
Threes is a really good game. That it's definitely at the top. Um, but yeah, but that's also a paid game, which I was happy to pay for.
yeah, I think it has a lot of to do with how normal the gaming like industry has become of having these free to play proceed to person like it's just it's so normal to have games free to play nowadays in the mobile industry. I think it's it makes people like in the mobile gaming community, they make for them it more or less like if it's like, oh yeah, I want this for free because what I won't even try it if I have to pay money for it. And I think that's kind of sad that they have that kind of mindset that if it's free or if it's not free, I'm not gonna even bother like paying for it. But in the same time, we got games like Minecraft has been on the top list of paid games in the mobile market for a really long time. I still think it is, and it shows that there are some like limits where people actually don't mind like paying like money on the go before they can play it. And I think it has a lot to do with like how they want to know what they're getting before they are spending money on something. I think it's like that kind of mindset in the mobile gaming industry.
Yeah, and I also think it is very unhealthy for the young generation of gamers right now, of people growing up right now, because they're being basically conditioned into being okay with these kind of microtransactions and loot boxes and subscriptions and all this stuff. So I'm honestly pretty worried about kids today when they grow up and then they decide to buy a new iPhone on a contract on 24 months, and that's like a cool, not even gonna think about it, and now I'm stuck with this contract for 24 months and I didn't even think about it because I'm so used to all of this kind of for this kind of payment structure, which can build up. And like, yeah, first it was an iPhone and then I'm going to buy a computer and a TV and a game console, and I buy them all in this kind of in this kind of um, in this structure. Like now, Microsoft allows you to buy an Xbox for $35 a month for 2 years. So there's more and more of this coming around, and I am a little bit worried about this generation of kids that are growing up with just their mom or dad is just throwing their phone in their hands, and now they're playing this mobile game that keeps asking you for money. I don't think it's very healthy for those kind of people for kids today.
That motorbike is really clear. Can be heard.
Okay.
Remotely.
But yeah, Lynn again in the chat. People be like, $10 on Mario Run is too much for a mobile game. Meanwhile, they spend $250 to get their waifu. It's so true. Like it is
Yeah,
100%
that's
true.
yeah. But when it comes down to it, it's just it all comes down to people wanting waifus on their mobile. They're spending way too much money on 2D graphics that are just JPEGs.
Mm.
I think it's also like like if someone wants to spend $250 to get their waifu on their mobile phones, the more power to them. But I just think it's kind of dumb to then complain that Mario Run is too expensive for $10.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it's like people can spend their money on whatever they want. Let's be honest, all of us have spent money on stuff that people will look at us and say, why the fuck did you spend that much money on that thing?
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's Overwatch skins or skins in MOBAs. For Leo, it's maybe waifu blades instead of blade. No, I'm joking. And for them, it's Apple products. Like, people look at us and say, what the hell are you doing? And for us, it's like, whatever, it's my money, I can do whatever I want. So I don't really judge people who wants to spend that much money on gacha games. However, I think there's an inherent problem with gacha games and loot box-based games in general, where they prey on the weak people, the weak-minded, those who get addicted to it. That's the problem.
Yeah, if you look at this in a psychology perspective, it's all about that. When you make those roles and you get like a character that you want, it's your dopamine in your brain is like it skyrockets, and it just makes you want to do it more. And for those that are like physically ill, it's more or less a drug for them in a bad way.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I don't seem super interested. I just don't play mobile games.
Yeah.
So I don't have that strong of an opinion. I do know, like you know my opinion. I just want the games to be good. And I want people to have fun. So I think the problem with mobile game is that it's such a volatile market. It's so easy to just release a free-to-play game and say, hey, give us money by getting this little stupid-ass thing. Instead of just releasing a game for like $10 and say, hey, buy this game for $10 and never fucking pay us again.
Yeah, it was. I stopped playing Plants vs Zombies 2 because I really loved the first Plants vs Zombies, and I was really excited for the second one. But that game had all of these microtransactions everywhere. You had to pay to get the fucking one of the like basic flowers from the first game.
Yeah, I heard that.
And you couldn't even get to the next world without paying. And I was like, no, I'm not going to play this shit. Like, and even though like the gameplay was fun, it was a fun game, but I'm just not gonna stand with this shit. Like, I'm going to play a game that respects my time, and yeah. This is getting into a really downer show. I realize.
Yeah. I'm really gonna go upward either with the next stop.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Now comes the heavyweights. Let's bring out.
So
that's fun.
I did have some. I had a lot of hope for Apple Arcade. You know, it was Apple's attempt at trying to fix this problem, and unfortunately, no one paid for it. No one paid for that subscription service. So yeah, we're just gonna have to keep with this shit. Yeah.
Next
so
topic, not abuse in video game industry, but crunching in video game industry, which is pretty much the same sometimes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I said that, but Dennis completely ignored me. If you're gonna do something positive, hey, we have a Smash announcement tomorrow.
Yes. We're going to get a new Smash character tomorrow. Oh yeah, I mean we can just have a little tangent into some positivity. What are your predictions for the next Smash character?
I have literally nothing. I think they're all supposed to be first-party Nintendo characters, if I remember correctly. So that like narrows
have they
down.
Have they confirmed that?
I don't. I can look it up. I want to remember something like that. Maybe it was just that I do remember that the first pack was supposed to be no first-party Nintendo characters, except they released Piranha Plant
and Byleth.
Yeah. Super Smash. I don't agree. Ultimate.
I agree. I also want Waluigi.
I do not want Waluigi.
My wish list.
Waluigi can die in a fire for
my wish list is Crash Bandicoot, Waluigi, and Impa. Either the new the new Age Calamity version or the other Hyrule Warriors version of Impa. One of those two, I want that in Smash. Those are on my wish list.
I want Flood from Super Mario Sunshine.
But he's already in the game.
He can be his own character.
Oh man. Flood.
No, one of the villagers from Super Mario Sunshine.
Oh, the Piantas. But do you guys have any legitimate predictions?
One actual legitimate prediction that I think would happen is Rex and Pyra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because that game sold off a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, they kind of said that, yeah, when people want them in the game, because like whether you like the game or not,
they have waifu power, so
they have waifu power, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, his kit, like his game, or how Rex works in his games, translates very easily to Smash. And I'm one of the people that, yeah, give me Rex in Smash.
I will consider it a disappointment if Rex and Pyra is announced and the combat is not automatic. Like he's just straight up like an AI character.
Well, but then Shulk would have also been just auto attack.
Yeah,
maybe so.
I mean, I had a plan that you give me Pyra and you can do some cool stuff with that and ignore the whole driver part. But no, if they're gonna release it, it's gonna be both of them. And like that's a genuine thing. Like I half expect them to release Rex and Pyra in like as one of the characters.
I also think another possible character could be Travis Showdown. His name's it's Travis Showdown, right?
Yeah.
From what's the No More Heroes? I haven't played any No More Heroes, but he seems pretty likely considering how buddy Suda51 is with Nintendo right now. So
I don't think they would release another Fire Emblem character. They have no more new Fire Emblem games.
Yeah.
They released Byleth, and that's for the latest game. So why would they release?
What if they do this? They announce a new Fire Emblem character, and then right after they announce a new Fire Emblem game, starring the new character.
Oh no!
To be fair, like I've already said before, I'm gonna say it again. Like this is on record. I can't complain about any character released because they released Banjo-Kazooie. And like I have no right to complain about any new character, even Waluigi, unfortunately, even though I would like die.
Waluigi deserves a spot in Smash.
No, he's in 2 games. No, 3 games. He doesn't even have his own game.
Give him some slack, man.
Waluigi. Okay. This is what should happen. They should announce Waluigi for Smash right after announce Waluigi's own spin-off game.
No.
Yes.
Can we get Paper Mario? That would be cool. I haven't played the latest one, but give me Paper Mario. Give me like some weird characters.
Do you remember that meme like image from back in the day where it was like Waluigi's taco stand or something like that? That was his game, like Waluigi's taco stand. I think that if they ever release a Waluigi game, it should be a dating sim.
Oh no. It's novel.
That would be amazing. No, but legitimately, the Waluigi game should be Wario and they should do a spin-off of the Mario and Luigi series. Call it Wario and Waluigi Partners in Crime.
Like, I wouldn't hate that.
They would be amazing characters for an RPG.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a good idea, actually.
Yes, I want that to happen. Okay, time to go back to the world of depression. So, crunch. Carl, why don't you introduce us into the beautiful world of crunch?
The beautiful world of crunch is what kills the gaming industry and will make the games stop existing in like 5 years. No, but recently it came out that, surprise, surprise, CD Projekt Red has forced 6 days obligatory or mandatory 6-day work week with overtime, like mandatory overtime. So they basically work their workers to death, and that's because they're making the most ambitious game ever made in the history of the world, which is Cyberpunk 2077, and that made me think, holy shit, crunch sucks. And I did some more research on it, and yes, surprise, surprise, crunch sucks, especially in this really, really like AAA companies that tries to be like the game of the year game every time they release a game, and that's where people come to die. Like, people's dreams come there, and they're like, yeah, I made The Last of Us 2, now I'm never touching a single video game for the rest of my life. So yeah, that's what crunch is. It's just, hey, work as much as you possibly can without like collapsing, and at a lot of the time, even then, work until you collapse and then continue work some more. And this is a real problem in the video game industry, especially in the AAA video game industry, because everyone wants to release like a really good game. It's a combination of both management wanting people to work that they don't care about the people that work, so just care about the product, and the people that work that have a genuine passion for the games and want to push themselves so hard. And especially when everyone in the company has that passion, so to speak, and the drive to actually release the game in the best possible way, it fosters a very hostile workplace experience.
Yeah, like you only need that one person who is like, I am going to dedicate my entire life to this, and then that starts making other people feel like they also have to do that, and then it suddenly has become the entire studio culture to kill yourself at your desk.
Yeah, I think one of the bigger problems when it comes to crunching, it's more or less the time limit or the time span that you get to do certain tasks. And especially in the AAA games, they're so like they want to make the games as good as possible, and then you add a time limit on that. It's more or less, and they have like 500 people working on it also. You're like questioning like why is this taking so much time, or why are they doing this to themselves? And it's just more or less it
Did he disappear again?
the
Leo
planning
died.
isn't going as
He died again.
That's unfortunate.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're back now.
Oh, I'm back.
Yes.
Oh god, I think my internet is half dying.
Yeah, you died for like a second there, and then you died for another second.
Oh boy.
Yeah. You crunched too hard.
Yes, I crunched too hard. But yeah, the like crunching in workspace. Did I disconnect again, or?
No, you're still here. Just talk.
Okay. But yeah, the crunch in workplaces is more or less. It all depends on who is controlling the planning and scheduling, and how many people do you have at your disposal, and how well are these people doing their work, actual work. And often it can turn out that most of the work isn't done because of bad planning and on security, on of not knowing how long time things will actually take to make.
So I have a theory. Let me know if you agree with this. I think, at least in the gaming industry, a lot of crunch actually stems from education. Because in a lot of game education courses and stuff, you are heavily encouraged to keep learning and keep doing things off hours. Like how many on the education that we went to, how many people were still sitting at their desks when you left to go home?
Well, like 5 people.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
there were still
but there are always
Yeah.
people who do that, and I think it's and I mean even I mean the education we went to is super relaxed, but like I went to another one and they basically encouraged us to work off time, and I think that culture goes into the game development, into game studios as well, where but now it's no longer about yourself anymore. You're not working on yourself anymore. You're working on a project, but people don't see the difference.
I mean, I think it
I wouldn't.
depends.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's an education problem. It's just like a general attitude problem.
I think
Because
it
if you
has.
go to places like Future Games in Stockholm, which people that come into there, they are really good that like they are really talented, and they go there to become the best of the best, and that's why they're gonna spend 18 hours a day to do stuff. Like
Yeah, I
they
think.
work or they sleep, basically,
Mm.
and then they come into the companies that looks for those types of people, and they just foster that attitude. So it's a less of a education problem, more like a general attitude problem that kind of infects other people.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with it's the getting to the gaming industry is more. It feels more like a competition than a actual job, because when if you want to be in a AAA studio, you really have to show that you care. You have to show that you're part of the team,
You're
and
dedicated.
what
That you're dedicated.
yeah, that you're dedicated for the cause to be in this company. And this problem, we can see this problem in like not maybe not in gaming companies, but in Japan and Korea, there's like or Asian countries in general has this like prestige thinking, like you have to work really hard, like super hard, in order to get somewhere in the industry, no matter what it is, if it's being in an office or if you're like this mostly office work that are like that, at least in the Asian countries you can see. And there are some, like especially in Japan, I know there are like they have people that stays, like if their boss is not leaving at the time they are like then this like their work day is done, most of them are staying because it feels like it's something in their
They don't want to leave
culture.
before before their boss does.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a problem. That's something that that's like a problem in Japan, especially, that needs to be changed. I think, and it's in most of the Asian countries in general also, and it destroys people. It's like there's it's not physically it's not good for the physical brain in a
Yeah.
human.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned Anthem earlier, and I mean, reading that Jason Schreier story about the development of Anthem, have like how some people just would lay in like fetal position under their desks. Like, how do you make someone work so hard that they literally lose their mind? Like,
Because
that is
there are people out
insane.
there in the world that have no, like, they're actual sociopaths, psychopaths. I don't know what's the term. But
The
they,
lack
they
empathy.
just genuinely don't care about other people's well-being. And these are the money pushers, people that goes and say, hey, we're gonna get this product out, and fuck you. How
Mm,
dare you want to work in this industry? Now you're
yeah.
here, so work. That's the like problem. And then it's just the unhealthy attitude that it fosters, like I said, that people will work themselves mad because other people works themselves mad because they feel like if they don't do it, they're failing everyone else.
Mm,
Yeah, or they will look bad because they are not doing as what they're like the upper people are doing,
mm,
or something like that.
Yeah, there are a lot of times like I feel like when we went to school, like sometimes I could feel like it's such a turn off from the industry for me. Like when we were in school, I refuse to work more than I need to. It's just like out of principle, I should get the work I have been given. I should be able to make it like work within the hours I'm expected to work, basically. And when people start saying, yeah, you should do even more than that, not because you need to, because we want you to do it, that's when I'm starting to feel like, why am I even here?
mm,
This is, I don't, it makes me not want to make video games if that's the culture I am gonna enter, so to
mm.
speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this. How do you say it? It's I'm lost at words, but I think it is a big problem that there are companies that are like that, and but at the same time you're like what you're saying is right. You should like be able to do the work that you should be able to do in your work hours, and there should be no requirements for you to work more than that.
Mm,
And that's also good in Sweden, is that we have these regulations that most of the companies need to follow. And um, we also had to we met by the education, we met people from like DICE that works on the battlefield and all that.
mm.
Like, of course there will be moments where you can't avoid Scrum. There will probably, like, if you work in the gaming industry, Scrum
Crunch.
will always
You
happen
mean
sooner or
crunch?
later.
Crunch.
Crunch.
You said
Yeah,
scrum.
crunch. Oh, did I say Scrum?
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, but crunch. Yeah, I meant crunch.
Mm,
But yeah, so it's sooner or later it will happen, no matter in what company you're in. And surely there are the companies that are against it and try to avoid it as much as possible. But uh, there will be times where we don't have, or we have a really limited time on releasing this game, or this thing needs to be done, or else we will not have enough money to like support the company. It's like when it comes to company, it comes down to, do we have the time and resources in order to make this or not?
yeah. Yeah. It's it's a whole fucking thing, man.
Yeah. That's just like sometimes when I start thinking about it, it's just such an exhausting industry we've entered.
Yeah.
But the problem is if it's one of those, like, if no one does it, like, if I, now I'm just speaking out personally, but if sometimes I can feel if I don't go in to make the change, like, why should I expect anyone else to do it? Kind of deal. Like, I want to I have a passion for video games, and I am certain that I am not the only one that thinks like this, but like, I want this industry to be like a proper industry. I want it to be like any other work. Like, if you want to work in games, yeah, you work in games, just be good at it. But it shouldn't be expected of you to work like 80 hours a week. Because, oh, you work in the gaming industry, we expect you to work twice as much for less pay than you would have if you were like a normal ass engineer.
Yeah,
So
I think the way we get there is unfortunately through the fact that that America needs to unionize the gaming industry, because like it or
America's
not,
actually.
like it or
That's what
not,
you-
like it or not, America is the world in many ways. Like we, I mean, the entire world is basically tuned into the presidential into the presidential um, campaigns this year. Like, and it just happens every year because America is the center of the English speaking internet. Every person that is on the English speaking internet is automatically kind of sorta in the United States. So if and every, like, if you look at companies like a lot of Swedish companies like Dice and stuff, like they're connected to EA, which is an American company, and then we have like Massive, which is connected to Ubisoft, that is a Canadian company or French company. Like, um, we need to get the American gaming industry unionized, because that will set the standard that everyone else starts to follow.
Yeah, like I said earlier, is that it's the gaming industry is kind of new still. It's well, it has been a while. Like, we've gotten so far.
Yeah, but
and
it's
we got that
relatively new
we
compared
gotten
to everything
so
else.
far. What?
But it's comparatively new to everything else.
Yeah, exactly. And we gotten so far so fast. It developed so fast, so that the industry can't it can't keep up with how fast it's evolving. Which I think is like one of the main reasons why we still have these problems, is because people are expecting games to be released within maybe 3 to 5 years of development, and especially in these bigger game, like there was a time where like they released an Assassin's Creed every year, and for each year the game just felt more like the same, because they didn't have time to come up with new ideas. They just had to like iterate with what they had. But we see now that is changing. Like, they are actually taking their time in making games now. Like, how long was it since the last Assassin's Creed game
like
released?
2
a
years
year ago.
I think Odyssey came out 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like trying to keep like they're trying to you can see that they tried to make some changes, but there are still part of it that there's some problems, like the crunching, which we see a lot still in the industry, and that's something that we need to there needs to be some kind of like standards. And I think a lot of it also has to do with like there is nothing that we have things to compare to, but because of we know how to make simple, like how long it takes to make simple 3D models. We know how long it takes to make prototypes, but there's always, when you make something new, something more, something that never has been done before, that's where that's where the time goes. Where, oh, we want to make this game. Well, is it possible? Well, it is. Anything is possible as long as we got the time and resources to do it. And most times the time limit is what's making these crunches to appear, because they need to release the game in order to get more resources so that they can make the next game.
Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah, and I think it was, Activision with the Call of Duty games. They actually have 3 studios that work in cycles on the games, and they used to actually be 2 studios with 2 years instead of 3 studios with 3 years. But so when the industry required more out of, like, more time, more development, like with, as technology advances, they got another Call of Duty studio and made it into 3-year intervals instead. So yeah, like, and I think a lot of companies try to strive for that, like, yearly release or close to yearly as possible, as Activision does with Call of Duty, but then at the same time forgets that they actually have 3 large studios that work on these games on 3-year intervals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all feeling too, like, depressed.
Yeah.
Start from these discussions. But there's been, like, compared to last week, we really didn't have much to talk about, because last week we had, like, a lot of events, and this week nothing happened.
Yeah. I've also heard that
stuff.
to be a little bit more positive, from everything that I've heard, Nintendo is a company that doesn't crunch.
Yeah, I also heard that.
Like, even I don't trust when people say that.
Yeah.
Even though, like, I know, like, it's such a different culture over there, because it's like, you don't want, like, in that culture, you don't want to just go out and be an asshole. Basically, you want to save face. So going out there and telling lies is dumb, but it's also a really terrible work culture in Japan. Like, who knows? I don't trust when a lead developer or a producer or director comes out and say, "Oh, we don't crunch in this company," because that's most likely a lie. Like, if you remember, when we had, like, we could talk to one of the people from DICE. I don't remember who he is, and I'm not gonna say his name, but, like, he said some stuff that straight up is not correct. Like, yeah, the people, they will say what's good for the company, basically.
Yeah, and I think there's some truth to what they're saying. I think every company probably has moments of crunch, but then maybe it's properly paid for and all of this stuff, which is fine. Like, if there is some overtime that has to be done with the game to hit a milestone, and as long as it's properly spaced out and properly timed and properly, as long as all of those things are properly done, and the health of the employees are at the focus of all of that, it's fine. It's okay. If you don't do it too much, because that's just the nature of how video games work. It's this thing where problems can show up. You can't suddenly, like, in a movie, an unexpected problem won't just show up out of nowhere. But in an interactive experience like this, bugs will appear and other things like that, playability issues, all of that stuff will appear. So it's just the nature of the industry. But yeah, like, as long as that that is properly paced out and all of that, it's okay. But then it's obviously well known that people like Sakurai, he has like on multiple occasions it's like known to have overworked himself to hell to work on Smash. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the people that the team who worked on Smash also worked like he did. I'm sure there were people who did, but I don't think when Nintendo says that they don't crunch that it is necessarily a lie. But yeah, it probably happens, but I'm sure their base principle is to like, we don't do crunch.
Yeah, but I wondered, like, is it one of those situations where, yeah, we don't do crunch in the same way that Naughty Dog doesn't do crunch, or is it like a be enforced do not crunch? Because Nintendo is one of the companies, like, which I respect them for, that they're not scared to say we're gonna like delay this game. Like, look at the Metroid Prime 4. They just came out and said we're restarting this game because we're not getting where we wanted to get. So we're scrapping everything and starting from the beginning. So it's gonna take a lot of extra time, which I respect them for, and that makes me want to believe them more than when like Naughty Dog comes out and say we don't enforce crunch, people just do it. Except they don't enforce crunch in all but like the only way they don't enforce crunch is that they don't say to their employees to crunch, but they go out of their way to find the people that will crunch, whether they say it or not. So like you see where I'm getting at. So yeah, I think this, like, I don't know where I'm going with this, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, crunch. It sucks. But you know what's even worse than crunch? Crunch Bandicoot.
The evil twin brother of Crash Bandicoot. Crunch Bandicoot.
Bandicoot sounds like a cheap Chinese knockoff.
Oh,
yeah.
I would say we're pretty much done with this topic.
Yeah,
should probably end here.
So yeah, that's it for this episode. Where can people find you guys at, if you want to be found?
I don't want to be found.
Okay.
I don't really do stuff online, so.
But don't you want people to like your takes on Twitter?
I don't post takes on Twitter. I just post stuff on Twitter. I post about the bees in Super Mario Galaxy looking evil AF. No, I will not do it for the clout.
Okay,
what more do I post? I post stupid stuff. Yeah.
What about you, Leo? I mean.
Yeah. So in about maybe 2 weeks or so, I'm gonna start my own podcast called Meteorcast. So I'm gonna send out some links for Dennis to put in the video format when he has this. Yeah, we're still trying to have some planning phases done this week, and then we're gonna put at least next week try to find a date for the first episode, more or less. It will be live streamed. You will see me play some Final Fantasy, the first game, while we talk about more or less the games, more or less.
The Final Fantasy that didn't end up becoming the Final Fantasy.
Exactly.
You're playing Final Fantasy as Mr. Final Fantasy.
Do you think Square will ever make the Final Fantasy?
No. You must have heard the reason. You must know the reason why it's called Final Fantasy, right?
Yeah, because it was supposed to be like the last game, and then it became a success, and then the Final Fantasy became the first of the Final Fantasies.
Yep.
Yeah. Wait, they made sequels to Final Fantasy? Yeah. So you can find me at Dennis_Lofgren on Twitter. Go there to read all my hot takes that Carl will disagree with.
I agree with those that I feel not ashamed to talk about. Make of that what you will.
Let me see what my latest hot take on Twitter was. It was oh yeah.
Mario, Ganondorf, Bowser Jr., young bro Rabbit.
Yeah. So there was someone who tweeted that, well, with Nintendo's new announcement of a new character, and then they also thought it was not a coincidence that they also tweeted about jump rope challenge having recorded 2.5 billion total jumps. So, that must mean that Jump Rope Rabbit is coming to Smash Bros.
I can give you a take when I go through this, and it's trying to imply that Sunshine is a really bad game. That's the latest hottest take. Otherwise, you've been pretty lame. What the fuck? What's happened?
This is also a pretty hot take. Metroid Other M, not a bad game.
I would just say like it's a lukewarm take at this point. Like people just don't care. People are apathetic.
Then I also tweeted this about Keira Knightley not remembering who she played in Star Wars.
That's also not a hot take. It's just sad.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's more of a hot take that it doesn't matter that she doesn't remember because she saw the movie and she played the role when she was 12, hasn't seen the movie since. And in most of her scenes, she was dressed to look like Padme. So, of course, she thought she played Padme. And yeah, the tweet was about people are giving her too much shit about it, and not everyone watches Star Wars religiously like we do.
I mean, name a better combo: Star Wars fans than Star Wars fans and fucking hating on people for being in Star Wars movies. Like you can't get a better combo.
Exactly. Why were you eating Roxlin when you were 12? Okay.
Sometimes you just crunch. We're done. Bye.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.